It was wonderful, watching Distance, and somehow Distance has been quite relating to the kind of movies that we have been watching in this side of India, like Kerala, and of course the Indian kind of. So it was really, I think, the response from the movie hall was also reflecting that. What do you think?
Actually, then. Actually, my wife, who painted the pictures in the movies, she suggested Hannah, because she saw pictures of her and said, why not her? And so we got in contact with Hannah, and very quickly...
Just because she wanted to paint her, no?
And she wanted to have the painting at the end, and I think that was just like 3 weeks before the shoot or something. Really, like, everything happened so fast with the shooting, we wanted to shoot it within the lockdown. So Hannah came on board, and she was the perfect Zoe for us. I'm very grateful to have on board for this project.
It's an interesting movie, really. It's an interesting movie. Wonderful performance by both the characters, especially yourself. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you for coming to the screening in Goa. We had a wonderful time there. As you know, it was our world premiere, so it was wonderful to show it also for the first time to an audience, especially on the other side of the world. That was very special. We made this almost a year ago, and yes, it was a very special moment. We talked about it. A moment of time. We're just running into COVID again. I just had COVID last week. But we had to push our conversation here. But then again, as I stated also before, it's not a COVID film per se. That was very important for me. It's also not about COVID. It's about a virus that is nondescript in the film. And I think, the lockdown or the fear of a potential infection is just like a catalyst for something that happens in the film or happens with us. I think it pushes us forward. Feelings we could easily hide before, So I think this is also how I see the entire time of like during COVID or during the lockdown. What happened then while we shut ourselves away was just like all these problems that we were maybe afraid of facing and confronting us with, they were pushed forward, And this is pretty much happening to the main character in the film.
Hope your kids and partner is doing well.
Yes, yeah. One of them is still at home, now the other one is back, but, Joaquin is just around the corner. You've seen them in the film anyway, You've seen the kids. They're one son, yeah.
Nice. And your wife is a painter.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe you remember that from the film, It's basically, and as you can tell, we shot the film in our apartment. So basically, this is a set, This is one of the image. This is a door where the plastic is happening. Yeah, remember the floor, the conversations are taking place here, so. And when Zoe does the pancakes, she looks at this image and, the sofa where she sleeps, okay. So it's exactly. Yeah. And I'll show you as a very last, very important place, also the corridor with all the images and the kitchen. It's one of the important rooms. So yes, it was exactly. We had to convince our neighbors that that I can shoot this scene with Zoe over there. So it was not so difficult, but the nature of the scene, we had to be a little bit more vague about what we're going to do there. maybe they would have said no to.
Oh, no, but it's very interesting to see, almost the same props which you have used in the film, and, from the view from the kitchen. So I was asking, like, the other side of the kitchen where you are showing the other apartment where these two guys, they are there. Is it also the same as in from the other side when you see, she's looking at him? So you have the same apartment there?
It is the real apartment, yes. I mean, on the other side, we just asked our neighbors. I didn't know them before, but we checked it. Yes. Obviously, I wrote it for this place. When I started working on the film, originally I had an idea to shoot it somewhere else, but then I knew that it's very difficult to write a piece that only happens in one place and to not make it boring, like to repeat the rooms and, and I had in mind that the place itself should almost function as a character. So very quickly, I knew that I can only achieve that by writing for this place, I started automatically thinking of like, okay, the view outside of the window, and of course I took this as a reference first, our place, and then the reference became more and more the place, so, and at one point it was like, I had to discuss it with my wife, of course, that she actually goes out to let us shoot the film at home and not the other way around as it was planned. It was very difficult though, if you shoot at your own place, I'm not sure if I want to repeat it, but it was very difficult for many reasons, It has an advantage in writing and, some disadvantages once you start shooting. But anyway, it was the nature of the film, and it was made it easier to write it, actually. Yeah.
I know you're a commercial filmmaker. So after Silhouette, you did Distance, or were there other films in between?
I did some shorter pieces, but yes, I financed the first feature film. Back then I was based in Paris, and we shot it on 16, and I put all my savings in there. During the filming, I also met my wife. She has a smaller role in the film, and then afterwards, I put all my energy in finishing the film. I became a father, like we moved to Berlin from Paris. I started a new life, and it took me some time to do the second film. But yes, I wrote another feature film in between. Originally, I wanted to shoot this. I just finished it right before the lockdown actually happened, and I had planned to clean it up during the lockdown, and then once the lockdown was over, I wanted to go out and find a producer who's interested and willing to do this piece with me. And but literally, I was sitting on in front of the first page of the script and thinking, what's happening outside now? I cannot deal with the film I was writing about the last 2.5 years with, So something completely different was in my mind, and I put this at the side, and I wanted to do something fast and spontaneous and shooting it now during the lockdown. And so this was the beginning of Distance. And it was also not originally planned as a feature film. I wanted to do something short, regardless for many minutes, just like with two actors, almost like an exercise to prepare for the other film. So this was a little bit the beginning. I felt the urge to shoot and put something of my feeling in this, in this piece for two actors in one room. This was very simple, and this was the birthplace of Distance. So.
Being a commercial filmmaker, does that help in conceiving or visualizing a film, a feature film?
It's a good question, because I think it's a matter of character and nature, if it helps. I never visited a film school, so I started as a runner in production. Back then, I was based in London, and the commercial industry gave me a place to experiment, let's say on the technical side of filmmaking, you know, I met a lot of great DOPs who were involved in feature making and some producers, but it gave me a place to experience the set, you know, being a director, like working with a crew, and you know, like, so yes, the disadvantage is like when you make your first steps in the commercial industry, you know, and you produce something, you cannot really take so many risks, which is, I think, fundamental to learn. When you get hired to do something as a commercial director, you have to have an outcome that is half decent because it goes on air in a couple of weeks. So, and I think it puts you in a position where you cannot go full risk to go wrong, because the client is paying for it, you know. So, and this, after a few years, I realized, you know, this helps me back from finding also a voice. You know, I felt like the commercial industry is not really the best place to find myself as a filmmaker. You know, it's so this was a little bit the beginning of Silhouette, my first feature film. I really wanted to produce it myself, not because of control. I just wanted to allow myself to be completely wrong with this film, to experiment and to, you know, to go all onto these, like the borderline of experimenting, what I never had before in commercial industry. And I think I would define it like this, you know, it's a great place to experiment. It gave me a lot more shooting experience than some art students would have in the same amount of time. You know, I've been traveling the world in so many places, so many different crews, you know, and it makes you, I think it makes you learn to arrive at a place and bang, it's now, you know, you have to move now, you know, it makes you move very fast and very spontaneous, which is a great, you know, asset to bring into now, like the feature films I did, you know. But on the other hand, I wouldn't say that it's a better school than going to a film academy. You know, the film academy is great because you know, I think everyone wants to do the same thing, and you can allow yourself to be wrong. You know, it's a safety net somehow. You know, what the commercial industry doesn't give you so much.
Also, when it comes to distance, you decided to produce it on your own. Otherwise, in general, how is it happening in Germany? Is like a production house, like how it happens in Hollywood, or you know, is that a production company owns it, or how is it?
Usually, every film is produced with national funding money, you know, in Germany. So it's there is no real independent market or a production happening in Germany or in Europe, you know. So pretty much like every production that is happening in Germany is done with national funding. So that made also our production as risk-taking and unusual, because it also brings the risk, once you do something outside of the system, that you stay outside of the system afterwards. You know, it's like everything is linked together. Also finding a sales agent or like, you know, distribution is all linked to national funding. Once you don't have funding, you don't get funding for distribution, for instance. You know, so, but I think at the beginning, when very early on, I wanted to do this film independent, because I knew that if I want to do it now within the lockdown, it has to be only with, let's say, private money, you know, because going for funding means like it takes maybe up to 2 years or longer to raise that money. You know, there are certain deadlines to put in your project, and you know, you get feedback, you wait another half a year, you know, maybe they want you to revise a script, and then you go back the next fall, and so easily you spend like 2 years in collecting all that money until you have a green light for pre-production, and then it's another year, and so basically, you know, suddenly 3-4 years passed, and you start filming your script. So, and especially with this one, I knew it's a momentum that I want to keep with this film. I wanted to shoot it very fast, and it was clear that I have to write it in a way that we can do it with a fraction of that budget. So very early on, I was writing a script with the mind of like, it has to be cheap. It has to be doable with in another way, you know. So, but that was interesting, because as soon as I gave this film like, oh, this script, the restriction of like everything happens in one place, the camera is not leaving the camera, it's written for 2 people, it has to be cheap, it has to be doable with a minimal amount of time and crew. It was stimulating the creativity a lot, you know. It was really helpful to move very fast through the script, you know.
How did you fix the characters like, you know, Alex and Soy, as in, you know, they are the best to enact this role. So what made you think? And it worked very well. And we could also, you know, as viewers, we really enjoyed their performances.
I shot with Alexander, I shot like a small editorial fashion piece, maybe 2 years prior to this project. And I knew him a little bit. He was not a friend at that time, but I knew him. And when I had about like written maybe a page or 2 pages, just like of like the rough layouts, I sent it to him. And I asked him if he would be interested in doing this project, and he jumped on board. And he was very enthusiastic about the whole atmosphere and the character and the ideas that was put on paper. And we started a really close collaboration, talking a lot. And at one point, talking about the film became like regular sessions we had. Like, you know, we regularly met on either in my place or his place, and we worked like classically on a board, flipping scenes and ideas. And, you know, we had these like sessions, and we created a very strong bond during that time. That's why you also like, you know, like he owns the part of the writing credits and stuff, you know. So it was really very much also writing it for him, you know. It was like at one point thinking about the character, I was thinking about Alexander, you know. It was like really, and those ideas obviously reflected a lot what's going on in our life also, you know, like in personal life. So we were exchanging ideas, and in many ways it was also like talking about life and talking about relationship and talking about like, you know, where we are in our situations. And, you know, and it was like it became almost like the mirror principle, you know, like working on the film. And it was like, you know, constantly shifting in and out. So that was the casting was pretty much done very, very fast, you know. So it was done for Alexander, you know, and very much with him. Finding Zoe was more difficult, you know. It was like a classic casting process, and we went through a lot of actresses, German actresses who were available and interested in at that time, but we couldn't really find the right Zoe for weeks and weeks and months, because, you know, like we wanted to do it very fast. So also the casting had to happen very fast, you know. So it only started when I let go a little bit of like, originally I had a different type of woman in mind for this role, and it all became a new drive when my partner, she suggested one actress she saw, I think on Instagram, because a friend of mine took a picture of her. So and she was blonde, and she was like a different type than I originally had in mind, you know, like so. And we suddenly, it was Hannah, you know, and we contacted her. And I talked to her like on the phone, and that felt already very good. And then we met, and we brought it together with Alexander in a casting session. And then very quickly, you know, it was clear that she's our Zoe. Yes.
Did distance travel other places other than after the premiere, or are those in the plan in the coming months?
The Goa Film Festival was our world premiere, and now, and since also Goa was an A-class festival, as you know, it's always a gamble between, like, are you sending it to B festivals first, and then you cannot enter A-class festivals anymore? So now we have that tick box with an A-class festival. We can send it now to the B festivals, which I think is a good place for distance. It's not a big production, as you know. It's a very small film, which I think is perfectly shaped for B festivals. So I'm hoping that from now on we're gonna have a few more festivals, maybe even like worldwide or like in Europe, where we can screen it. But we're still waiting for our German premiere. Yes. So
for the common audience who didn't get a chance to view the film in festivals, when are you planning to put it on theaters or on a platform? How is it? Well,
this is in our hands. This is in the hands of our sales agent, right? So as a filmmaker, it's at one point, it's out of your hands. It's I think the selling is like then up to the world who's interested, and to the sales agent and distributors, to see where it goes. Which is also, I think, at one point, it's a good thing to let go. I think as a filmmaker, it's for me, the Goa Film Festival was a great occasion to screen it, to show it, to share it with an audience. But in my mind, it's also like, it's a closure. Even I hope that there will be many festivals coming, and that we can even show it on a certain platform very soon. But my mind is like jumping to the next project, which is healthier, because then it's like not. You're not waiting for something to happen, I think you stay active. You have to move on, it's like, I think you only stay healthy if you let go, It's the same as having a child, You cannot keep holding on to it, So distance is like on its own foot. It can walk. It just go out in the world, And I don't need to hold hand anymore, I don't need to nurture that baby anymore. It's grown up. And it's like, okay, distance, go out, make your experience, make your own way, and, come back with feedback, or let me know if you need me. But, I'm always there for you. But from now on, I let go of you. It's like, it's like in the film at one point, Zoe is saying, like, can you please teach your kids how to let go and not to hold on? It's like the same with love, you have to let go at one point.
Very good analogy. So in the same on the same coin, or on the same note, have you conceived the next baby?
Yes, exactly. I'm going back to that project I mentioned before. I was writing on a feature film before Distance happened, and it took me 2.5 years to write the script. It requires, if I want to do it in Germany, which I believe it's a good place to do it, it requires national funding. So I'm actually going to face probably going through all these, like collecting money, and 1 or 2 years of waiting until I get it, or even longer. So I'm already, I started like in the first outlines, a second idea that potentially could be produced independently again. So on purpose, I write it small again for 2 people in a small place, that it can be produced while I wait for the money for the other film. So it's a little bit like, this is a strategy. The other script is finished. I just need to polish a bit, and then I go out, and in the meantime, I would like to work on this new idea, which ideally maybe I can pop in between. It's written for 2 people, it's going to be written for 2 women, but it's going to be a road movie. I don't want to be stuck in one place anymore. So I want to travel with the next one. You know, this is a nice thing about like, once you write it all yourself, you can think of like, okay, you know, where do you want to travel with this? Where do you want to go with this? Because, you know, one thing is also certain, like when you write about certain things, you're going to face it. And with distance, sometimes I thought like, wow, you know, like fiction becomes reality and reality becomes fiction again. So, you know, so it's you have to be careful what you're writing, you know. So you're gonna be confronted with this, you know. So I keep that in mind for the next script, yeah.
While doing this, you also are working on commercials, right?
Yes, exactly. It's especially this year, you know, after, you know, I was investing a lot of especially time and energy into distance for 1 year. You know, it was consuming all of your, you know, once you work on this, it's all you can do, you know. You have to focus on it completely. I was also editing distance, so I cut myself out of the commercial industry pretty much for 1 year. So this year I had to go back to, you know, also financially to be in a safer place to also start the next project, you know. So I was doing a couple of commercials this year. I'm prepping for next one, and yes, I think this is pretty much the gamble where I am at the moment, you know. Like this is also it is an advantage in between. Of course, the commercial money gives you the, you know, the financial maybe freedom in between to allow yourself to write for 2 months or 3 months, you know. But for sure, the industry also changed in such a way. It is not the easy money, you know. A lot of filmmakers think that you do a couple of commercials and then you're fine for half a year. Then it's not at all like this anymore, you know. Doing commercials is a very tough business. A lot of directors out there who are doing it and wants to do it, and they do it very good. There's a whole new younger generation, you know. They do amazing work. So I think that industry also changed, you know. It's you have to focus 100% and also to make it, you know. But for now, I call myself lucky enough to be in it and to make money with this, you know. And ideally, maybe like at one point, it only shifts to the personal projects, you know. This would be the ideal, but I give myself another 2-3 years until this can happen.
I've worked with a director in a film as assistant director. He's a commercial filmmaker. He started as a commercial filmmaker, and he started making you know, feature films, and then in his fourth film, you know, I got a chance to assist him. And so when I used to have conversations with him often. So one of the advantages that he used to say is that we can keep ourselves updated when we do commercials, because we know, you know, most of the technological applications happen in commercial. You know, in his film, I think that's the first feature film in this part of the world where they have used a photosonic camera. It is long back. Okay, this is in 2005, and he was the first person to do a digital intermediate in you know, in Malayalam film. So I don't know whether you are familiar with Malayalam when we say it's from Kerala.
Okay.
From Kerala. So talking about that, you know, who are the masters who would have influenced, or, you know, who would have inspired you in making films?
I would definitely put in John Cassavetes, you know. Like I wouldn't say that, you know, he did my favorite movies, you know. It's just like I would say he inspired me because of, you know, his life work philosophy. You know, it's like I think he never really tried to, you know, exclude family life while having an artist life, which is very much like a classic discussion you have in Europe, you know, saying that you cannot have kids in this business, or having kids is the worst as a filmmaker and stuff, you know, because it's in the way, or, you know, like you cannot completely focus on this, you know. So I mean, it's actually a discussion that I put in distance, you know. like the ego, the family, having kids, like how is that possible? How can you put it together with like being an artist and stuff, you know? And a lot of people think they have to sacrifice all this, you know, all the fun of it by doing art, and especially filmmaking, because it's, you know, it consumes so much time, you know, like and room in your life. But and I saw Cassavetes enjoying life a lot, you know. He had kids, and he never excluded living in Hollywood, you know, and doing these like fantastic films, you know, and with a different approach. And he put his friends in there, you know, and like it was all blending within, you know. So I really admire this philosophy, and there are, I think there's I don't know if you read these like series of books, Scorsese or Godard. It's written by various people, but like, you know, mostly it's like a little bit like behind the scenes, or talking about how this film happened, and then in chronological order, and giving a little bit of insight how these people worked, you know. And if you read like Cassavetes, it's not how he did his films. It's very much like a philosophy about life, you know. How do you live your life within, like, you know, like the arts and making the arts and stuff. So it was very inspiring to see this, you know, like so I would say like Cassavetes is one of those filmmakers, and I love Women Under the Influence, you know, and so definitely I would put him. So there is something to find within, like, I mean, and no wonder that I did now like 2 independent films, you know. So the film I'm working on right now, I guess I have to do it with funding, and I'm eager to have that experience also. And maybe afterwards we talk and we say like, oh, I go back to independent filmmaking. But I don't know, you know, there is something about this word of like doing it freely, free-spirited, that I like, and I, you know, like I always have as an aim to do something free-spirited, you know. If you succeed, it's another thing, but at least like it's a starting point, you know. I think like I think it's regardless what you do at the end, you know, it takes you 90 minutes or 2 hours to watch a film, you know, but I very much focus on how does it feel to make the film, because maybe it takes a year or 2 years or 3 years, you know, like of your life, you know, and it costs all of it. It costs all the energy. So I very much want to put focus on how does it make me feel doing this film. And, you know, on Silhouettes, I shot like 2.5 years, just the shooting process, you know. So every weekend, you know, I had to make money in between. I was producing it. I was preparing within the week. We shot over the weekend, you know. It was a choice of life at that point, you know. So it's really, and I do like that, you know. I like the challenge of seeing films or making films as a anthropology, learning about human beings, you know, and it's the best feel for that, you know. I think you enter a place on set or in post-production or pre-production or wherever, like during the filming, you know. I think you enter a place, you experience different emotions much closer to people than you normally would do in normal life, you know. You also meet people you normally wouldn't meet on the street, you know, like on your personal life. So I think this is all like, you know, a very interesting and fascinating place for me, you know.
Very insightful, rather very beautiful the way you have put the philosophical part of it, and it's very much speaks in your film, you know, the kind of bonding and the, you know, that you know what one is losing, or what he holds, Alex's character holds in his within him, all those you know, and it's very universal. Anyone across the globe can understand it very easily, and, you know, it communicates with that kind of emotion in which you have made it also. So very interesting. Lars, maybe I'll you know, I know I'm taking a little long, You're engaged in all this, and you talked about like it took 2.5 years to make Silhouette, and and along with that you have to work on commercials as well, because you have to make the funding. I'm very keen to know, how do you manage your time, as in how what is the routine, or do you follow any particular?
I don't manage my time, very, very quickly. I'm the worst in managing my time. I don't manage my time, exactly. I would love to have the extra money to have an assistant who manages my time, because I'm the worst in managing my time. I don't, exactly. It's a constant struggle. This is the truth, exactly. Yep. That's why, but it's also fine, that's why I'm saying, I love Cassavetes films, because you see, like the husband and woman under the influence, he's like he's in constant struggle to control the situation with the kids, with this woman who's like crazy or not, or maybe she's just like herself, but he's constantly trying to control it. He cannot, it's like you have to let go, How can you control your kids? You cannot. You have to let go at one point. You have to go with the flow. It's. I'm not thank God I'm not a control freak. Otherwise it would be impossible to live this life. But to be honest, I don't know. I'm a mess in terms of balancing all this. I would say I'm not so good in finding a good balance on a daily base. I think it comes in waves, and once I feel the wave, I have the instinct that I have to take it now. It's the same with writing. There's there are times when I feel like, okay, now it's a moment to write, and then I have to write, and then I can also maybe produce it very fast, and then at one point it also comes to a stop. So. But it's yes, I'm a mess in terms of balancing this. I'm not good in multitasking. I'm not at all like any of this. So it's. I wish I could give you a smart answer, but not at all.
Thank you so much. Maybe one last question is, it's like, have you titled the films in the process, as in those films that are in progress?
The next film. Yes, I mean the bigger one, which I'm working on since quite some time. It's Blood is Thicker Than Water. Yes, it's loosely based on my upbringing as a child. I grew up among the fairground people. I don't know, the carousels and let's say the modern gypsies who go from place to place and put up like a roller coaster and stuff. It's like in Germany, it's very common that they travel from city to city. And my father was a fairground painter. He painted those like carousels, and he was building them. And I grew up on all these like fairgrounds. And I always wanted to make a film about this community who's slowly but surely also vanishing, because it's like modern entertainment and attractions are are pushing them out of the market. It's a very old traditional way to entertain people, and I think it's there's not much hope for them. So on one hand, it's nice to preserve this, and there's whenever I see maybe a glimpse of it in films, because it has like a minor role, you only look from outside at the facade of these carousels, or maybe the characters are walking onto the fairground. But because I have the insights of like what happened behind, because there's not a whole world behind the facade, which was partly corrupt. It's like almost like the mafia, like black money trafficking and all these things, so it's very colorful. On one hand, you have like this facade, and on the other hand, it's like almost criminal like streams, So I always wanted to to make a movie. It's fascinating, you know. So yes, I was. So it's very autobiographical, in fact.
The one which you are going to produce on your own, have you
finalized? There's more one. I haven't got a title yet, you know. I just know it's. I want to have a road movie. I don't want to be stuck in a place anymore. I want to, you know. I write this on purpose to put all the learning, what I did wrong on distance, to make up for it. You know, I want to put it all in there. You know, and I want to don't really want to be stuck in a room. I want to travel. I want to like be on the road for a couple of weeks. But yes, but as soon as I come up with the title, I'll let you know.
Thank you so much for your, for allowing me to have a conversation with you. I'll keep troubling you when, whenever I get a chance. And
do please. And thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Let's keep in touch. Okay. Bye-bye.
All the best for Distance, Blood is Thicker Than Water, and the one which is coming up with the Road movie. All the best, and all your commercials, and my love to your kids and your...
Thank you so much. And hopefully one day we cross each other again on the next festival. Thank you.
Meet.
We stay in contact. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.